Joining me now, Senator Tom Cotton from the great state of Arkansas. Senator, how are you?
I'm good, Trey. Good to be on with you again.
Well, thank you for being on. You're on Judiciary. You understand immigration. What's going on at the southern border, and what kind of grade would you give President Biden so far?
Well, Joe Biden's grade on immigration, I guess, depends on your perspective. If you're a human trafficker or a drug dealer or all those migrants wearing the Biden Let Us In shirts, you'd give him an A++, but the American people would give him an F. The crisis we see at our border, Trey, was not only entirely predictable, it was predicted. I predicted it last fall that if you campaign all year long on open borders, amnesty, and health care for illegals, you're going to get more migrants at the border. That's exactly what's happened every month since the election. And the principle is simple. If you let them in, more will come. And that's what we see with Joe Biden's administration calling illegal aliens customers and changing the names of detention centers to reception centers and then giving them tickets for bus rides or plane rides to wherever they want to go inside the country. And as you said, even Mexico has now grown alarmed about this. And Mexico knows that whenever Central Americans show up at Mexico's southern border, they may be seeking asylum there. When they make the journey across Mexico, get to our southern border, they're not seeking asylum. They're seeking better jobs and better health care and better communities. It's understandable, but it's not what our immigration law is designed for, and it's not what the American people should be asked to shoulder.
Senator, when we were in the House together, you were one of the smartest colleagues I had. And I used to come to you when I didn't understand things. So I'm going to come to you tonight on something I don't understand. How can you be opposed to border security? I mean, when I read Biden's immigration proposal, I see no border security. I mean, what is the argument against a secure border?
Well, Trey, it just goes to show you how far to the left Joe Biden, the Democratic Party, has moved. You recall in 2013, we stopped a terrible amnesty bill that came to the House from the Senate. That bill at least had a pretense of border security and workplace enforcement. Joe Biden's legislation doesn't even have a pretense of any kind of border security, any kind of workplace enforcement against illegal aliens or unscrupulous employers. It is all open borders. It is all mass migration. We shouldn't be surprised, therefore, that we have this unprecedented border crisis. Now, of course, Joe Biden and his administration said it's not a border crisis. Maybe that's because they don't believe in borders. And if they don't believe in borders, they by definition don't believe there can be a border crisis.
Well, Tom, it looks like there's not a ton of security at the border, but there is a ton of security on Capitol Hill. You were a soldier. You wore the uniform. I mean, how long are we going to have a military presence on Capitol Hill?
Yeah, Joe Biden and the Democrats stopped building a wall on our southern border, and they put up a wall around the United States Capitol because they care more about their own personal safety than they care about the safety of the American people. Look, what happened on January 6th was a simple failure to account for the threat environment with appropriate security measures. Now the reverse is happening. There are not any specific credible threats to the United States Capitol. Not that I'm aware of, and I've asked repeatedly. Yet we still have razor wire fencing around the Capitol, and we still have thousands of National Guard troops there. Even though the director of the National Guard does not believe they can continue to support that mission, even though the senior Democrat and Republican on the Armed Services Committee in the House just said that they want to see that deployment drawn down. What we need is sound policing practices with sound threat assessments that will secure the Capitol with the appropriate level of both personnel and barriers. Those shouldn't be permanent. Look, if Joe Biden's going to come give a speech at a joint session of Congress sometime in the future, it will be appropriate to have more security in place then. But until then, we don't need to turn the people's capital into an armed fortress.
But Tom, you're on the Senate Judiciary Committee. You are married to a former federal prosecutor. We got about 30 seconds. Are you concerned with some of the nominees you see coming through your committee for DOJ?
Yeah, I'm terribly concerned. They nominated Judge Merrick Garland to be the Attorney General, and he had this image of moderate. He came in front of the committee. It sounded like he had gone to woke re-education camp. But just look at some of his top lieutenants. Earlier this week, we had a woman named Vanita Gupta. Miss Gupta last year, just 9 months ago, testified to the Judiciary Committee that all Americans are racist. I asked her who she has racial bias against. She has totally puzzled. What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Well, thank you. I love having you on. My best to your family. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Trey.